Welcome back to the Tavern, friends. Before you recruit some new minions for the battle, let me welcome you to episode number 20 of Tavern Tales, a Hearthstone Battlegrounds podcast. I am your host, Tumley Drunk, and tonight we are going to be taking a look at an upcoming event that is dropping next week. Been a while since we've had one of those, Ed. We also have a new balance patch that hit earlier this afternoon. We got a new hero, which we kind of already mentioned on our last episode. But Arana is now playable, and of course, a little bit more outside of that. So before we get into the news for tonight, let me just quickly take a moment to thank everyone who is joining us tonight on Twitch for our live show, and thank all of our repeat listeners out there. So joining me tonight in the tavern, as always, is my co-host, Ed. Ed, I have to say, we went a little bit of ways where there wasn't too much happening, and now the floodgates have kind of opened. I know you and I are both looking forward to the brawl that we'll be talking about. We've gotten more opportunities to test out both the Pirates Tribe as well as some of the new pirate heroes that were added with patch 17.4. But I have to say, I'm really enjoying the overall state of the game right now, even if things are a little bit to kind of sort through just because everyone is playing pirates right now, and it's hard to see the grander scale of things.
Yeah, no, I think this is the best that Battlegrounds has ever felt because every match seems different because it is different. Because you have a different tribe missing in each one. So you're not running into the same thing every single time. Outside it seems like every time I run into a macaw death rattle minion that always works out for my opponent, but never works out for me. Right. Ever. They're like, oh yeah, no, I have a gold macaw and gold baron. I'm like, go to hell. Plain and simple. I hate you. But yeah, no, it's for sure something that I think we're all kind of enjoying right now. It's so fun. I like it. It feels better than the majority of games that I'm playing presently.
In regards to the balance?
Or
just the amount of fun that you're having?
The amount of fun and the balance. I think there are a couple things that need to be changed. Hook Tusk, I think, needs to be nerfed. But they we'll get through here shortly. Is they definitely nerf some cards today. So yeah, I'm very excited for that.
Right on. So before we get into the news, let's talk about our weeks in Battlegrounds here. And I'm proud to say, as of last night, I'm actually at the highest MMR I have ever been at. So going into our last episode, I had ended the week at 6208. Which was an increase over 6048 from the prior week. And then, as of today, I am currently at 6339. So things are looking pretty good right now. Now, I will say, after they've added the personal stats to Tier 7 for HS Replay, the overall volume of games I've played isn't an astronomical number. I've only played 22 games over it's been 2-3 weeks at this point. But part of that's just due to the fact that I've been working on other projects, but the quality of games that I've been putting in has been the key takeaway here. So out of those 22 games, which is averaged exactly 8 hours of actual time played, I have an average placement of 4. Which I'll take. I'll take a top 4. So, I'm looking at my stats at 22.73% on my games for second place. That's the same percentage as my third place finishes. So, for the most part, I either get 2, 3rd, or 6th. The 7th and 8th place finishes haven't been really common. And I did get a chance to play Captain Hooktusk, which, I know you were hyping up this past week with how overpowered the hero is. And I I know with 100% certainty, like, I haven't been really keeping up with a lot of, like, the Hearthstone creators and, like, watching their gameplay footage of all of the new stuff. I've been slacking on that regard. But I know I did not play that character optimally at all. And I still only lost, I think, 3 rounds of combat in that particular game. And all of those were to the person who got first place in the lobby. Now, I didn't win, but I got second in the lobby, but it was still like a plus 70 MMR gain from that particular game. And, like, that just comes to show, like, even if you don't know what you're doing, you can still get some pretty good MMR gain out of some of these new heroes. And, outside of that, I can say, like, with 100% confidence at this point that I do know who I feel the most comfortable with, who has also netted me the best results, since I've been doing a lot more tracking in regards to the stats due to HS Replay. And I've been doing really good with dancing Daryl. Seems like every time I'm playing Daryl, I'm getting a top 4 finish. I had one game that was like a 6th place, but like everything else has basically been 2nd place finishes. So in the 5 games that I've played, which, a little bit under like 20% of the games that I've played since tracking all of this stuff, I've gained 217 MMR with Dancing Daryl. Which is, pretty significant, especially when you compare them to like the other positives that I have for MMR gains here, because really, like, the next best person who I have, like, multiple games with is Pyramid, who has 4 games and only plus 62, and I feel really good about how I've done with Pyramid, so it just comes to show the more work I've been putting into, certain heroes, like, the more and more I'm learning about what is more suited to my playstyle, so it's cool to see after our, discussions in the past about, like, where we would put Daryl, that all of a sudden he's kind of, like, been my go-to pick in just about any sort of situation that I've been put in at this point.
Yeah, everyone's kind of got their go-to. For me, it's Rafam. I just like the extra card and gold generation. But yet, I still am not... I catch on to Daryl too late in the turn to make it worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I catch on to what I should be doing with Daryl halfway through my turn. And by that point with Daryl, late game, you've already lost. Because you have to buy, sell, buy, sell. Like, it's very much a... It's why it's not good on mobile. Because you can't pull that shit off.
Right.
But I will say that the reason I think that you were having issues with why am I drawing a blank on who you were having issues with? Freaking Hooktusk.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I think you were having a problem with Hooktusk was because you went past tier, I don't know, 2.
Well, I stayed on Tavern 1 until I had at least 2 Goldens, and then I went up to 2.
Yeah, and that's kind of where you want to stay, is at like tier 2, especially now with Hooktusk, because you want to get like at least a gold Sourlisk, and then you need the macaws to make it work. And now with the changes, it's not tier 1 anymore, it's tier 2.
Yeah, so basically with that game, Ed, I stayed on 1 until I had 2 golds. When I got the next gold, then I went up to 3. And then when I got the next one, I went up to 4, basically. But I did get the, God, I can't remember the damn pirate name. The Golden Pirate off of that, like, 4th triple, essentially. So I went into Tavern 4 already with it, and then I just kind of, like, went from there to a point where I did have, like, a full golden board.
Yeah, you want a full golden board, and then you slowly work your way up to tier 4, so you can get those goldens and get a Baron. And that's when you run the traditional Macaw, Sourlisk, Beast comp. That happens. Now, I will say this: if Captain Hooktusk is there and beasts are not an option, definitely takes a massive hit to the board, because there are no. It doesn't really work that well outside of like with beasts, because you need the Sourlisk with the death rattles and so on and so forth. Like, you don't want to stay at a low level for Murlocs. You don't want to stay at a low level for demons or dragons or pirates. It really, or mechs, but mechs are not in the best of place right now. So yeah, it really only works truly with beasts, but beasts are the majority of the time in your game. 1 out of every 4 matches they may not be in it. But yeah, Hooktusk is definitely really good, but give me Rafam every single time, and I just do so much better.
Right on. So let's go ahead and let's talk about what is going on in regards to Hearthstone and Battlegrounds news. Actually, we got some pretty notable things going on. So next week, we have the return of the Battlegrounds Brawl. This will be taking place on June 23rd. That would be Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. And this will be going on from 9 a.m. Pacific time until 2 p.m. Pacific time. So basically, what this is you have 16 different Hearthstone creators that are being split into 4 different teams. You have the South Sea Swashbucklers, the Bloodsail Buccaneers, Fogsail Freebooters, and the North Sea Navigators. All of which are competing for a $200,000 prize pool, and we basically have 7 rounds of Battlegrounds that will be taking place here. So this will be hosted by Frodan and Saddle on the Play Hearthstone Twitch and YouTube. Interesting in that regard, due to the fact that viewership differential probably going to be pretty sizable. And do you know if like they've still been operating on both for like the other esports events, or is it just all YouTube?
All YouTube, but this isn't an esports event. This is like a show match type of thing. So I think with their contract with YouTube, this does not account for it, because it's not part of the Grandmaster series or anything like that. So yeah, no, they're streaming it all over the place, because you can get drops in Twitch for this.
Right. And, we do have some pretty notable names in here in regards to, like, creators and streamers and players. You got Firebet, Crypt Trump, Amaz, Brian Kibler, Educated Collins, Dog, Hafu, just to name a few. I mean, you basically got, like, basically everyone that's competing in this is a pretty notable name within Hearthstone. So if you're wondering how, like, the scoring is going to work like this, basically the way that they have this set up is they have 2 games that are going to be played simultaneously in each round, and then at the end of each round, points are going to be awarded based off of where you finish within the lobby. So if you get a first place finish in a lobby, your team gets 5 points. Second place gets 4 points. Third gets 2 points, with a 4th place finish getting 1 point. And then basically, depending on where you get first through 4th in regards to like your team placement, your prizing is going to vary, but like each member of the team, at minimum, even for 4th place, is going to earn $7,500, with the top team getting $20,000 per member.
I will say this: I think the Kibler team is probably the most stacked. Not because of Kibler. Kibler's very good. I think he's around like I think he's at 11K rating. But RDU is one of the best in the world. Like, RDU would be a bigger name in Battlegrounds if he mainly streams during the early in the morning, because he's EU. So it's like he's not as name worthy as like Sabid or Crip or Kibler, you know what I mean, or Firebat.
Right.
But he's one of the best in the world. So RDU I think will carry that team, and then you have Kibler, who's an 11K Battlegrounds player, um, who literally, if anyone has if any, if anyone has a complaint with Celestalon, it's Kibler after what I saw today.
Okay.
I'll explain that. Actually, no, I'm just gonna say it now. Turn 8, he went up against a Murloc build that had 2 Begurgles. Turn 8, 2 Begurgles, a Bran, and a Megasaur. And he's like, what? He's like, I just upgraded to Tavern 4. Like, he's like, what is happening here? And it was a Eudora. And they got the Eudora because the player was in chat. It's like, went to Eudora, got a Brand, and had a Zephyrus who turned into a Megasaur. Like, you're just like, oh, come on. That's just not cool. So, like, if anyone can blame Celestalon, Kibler can.
Mm-hmm. So, because they're doing this on both Twitch and YouTube, it is important to note, like, you can basically tune in to any one of the players on Twitch to get their point of view throughout this event that is going on. The only thing I wish they did with this is put, like, what their peak, like, Raiden is in Battlegrounds, just so we can get an idea of, like, what the Raiden differentials are between the teams. Now, granted, you know, all of these are really good players, so I can't imagine it would be like too extreme in regards to any sort of differences on a team-to-team basis. But I'd be curious to see, like, out of these players, who has actually climbed the highest in regards to the actual ranking system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it will be interesting to see all of that. I'm sure they'll go over that during the live broadcast of it.
Right.
So, but I mean, it's more than just this event, because I can't see on here. What time does this event start?
Well, the actual event, I mentioned, starts at like 9 a.m. for the brawl. That specific time. Mm-hmm. But they have the drops basically going on from 8:30 in the morning Pacific time till 7:30 p.m. Pacific time. So they have the drops on basically like all day on Tuesday. And for the drops, basically you watch 2 hours, and, you know, it doesn't have to be consecutive, just 2 hours total of any Hearthstone stream, and then you get an Ashes of Outland card pack, and then you can get another one after like every 2 hours. I don't know.
Now, does that mean anyone's?
Yes.
Like, so I could stream Hearthstone and people could tune in and get packs off that.
Yeah, it basically says watch, you know, any Hearthstone stream on Twitch. So, like, as long as they have, like, the drops enabled, you should be good to go in that case.
Alright.
Now, I don't think you can get more than 2 packs based off of
I don't think
the image and also just the information that they have displayed on here. But, you know, you and I have been talking about, like, really wanting to see another brawl happening. It's been a while since we've had the last one. They've only had one at this point. And, you know, what better time to do it than when there has been a slew of changes to Battlegrounds? Like, I feel like they should do this with, like, every introduction of another, you know, like, tribe, essentially.
Yeah, and the thing is haven't they done this every time that they've had a tribe? Because since the game, like, initially released, all they've added are dragons and pirates.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is the second one. I don't know if the first one lines up with the release of dragons or not.
I don't think it did.
But that's not something I'm going to look up right now. But you know what? I like these kind of events. It gives it a little bit of an esports style, trash talking, but still super fun. like, and laid back. Especially if you're watching the individual player streams.
Oh yeah.
Then you're just like, oh yeah, no, you're gonna shit talk them.
Yeah, the only downside to this is the fact that this is just like another reminder that we don't have like custom lobbies. One of these days it'll happen. But either way, I'm all for the event returning, and I look forward to seeing how everyone is going to fare in that regard. Now, looking at what's currently going on in the game, we do have the introduction of Arana Starseeker, who is available to play now in the Battlegrounds as the newest hero. That is, unless I think she's behind the perks. If you don't have the perks, she will unlock on June 30th. So, you know, that's a pretty big differential there. That's 2 weeks of, like, early access, essentially, for people that do have the perks. But just as a reminder, the hero power for this character is Demon Hunter Training, which is a passive hero power, where after you refresh 7 times, Bob will always offer you 7 minions. And, of course, you know, every time you refresh, it will update the hero power to tell you, just like it would for, like, the dig-in hero power.
Yeah, it's a very interesting hero power. I haven't had a chance to play it myself since it just came out. But I will say that in my mind, it seems to make the most sense to be another one of those heroes where you should stay at a lower level. Like, it seems honestly like another perfect Sourlisk build, you know, hero.
Yeah,
now, is that a good thing? Probably not. But I don't know. I think it's a pretty decent hero power. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's great. I think it's middle of the road.
Yeah, looking at what stats we have, and this is based off of 30,000 games, these stats really hurt to read. So right now, and granted this is limited data, but the pick rate for Arana is sitting at 65.1%, with an average placement of 5.13. But I'm looking at the combat win rate, and there is not a single turn that is above 49% win rate. And a lot of it, you're looking at turn 8, where no turn after that is above 5%.
Exactly. I think it's just skewed because today was the first day. I think this is we can't read into that really at all.
It was 2 days ago.
Oh, 2 days ago.
Yeah, the patch was today. Arana came 2 days ago.
Okay, patch today. Either way, 24 to 36 hours ago, she came out. We can't really judge the stats. I think we'll get a closer idea of what her placement will be at for next week's episode.
Right.
I can't see this being that bad of a hero.
Yeah, and
it's not a class specific hero. Actually, no, class specific heroes got a buff. So yeah, I don't know. This could be thrown all into whack based on the class specific heroes all getting a buff. Because if you look at it, if you look at the bottom, there's only one hero power that is class specific. Every other class specific hero is above tier 4 besides Lord Jiraxis. So, and that was 100% not the case a week ago. Or 2 weeks ago. So, you know what? Like, heroes like Shutterwalk, you know, AFK tier 4? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I think all these numbers are flipped head over heels, and I think we need to give it a little time to figure it out.
Yeah,
Galakrond's on the bottom, though. I don't think anyone doubted that.
Yeah, I mean, based off of where it currently lists people Tavern and up, it does seem like there is going to be some truth to wanting to stick at the lower levels, because a lot of people, like, the most prominent point to go to Tavern 2 is actually on turn number 4. So I don't know. If I ever get a run, I will definitely try a Forever 1 run, just to see...
Well, Forever 2 now.
I suppose that would be the case, technically.
Yeah, now after the changes that we'll get to, Forever 2.
Yeah. But all in all, early impressions, at least, on HS3 stat-wise, with slightly skewed numbers, not too prominent, but, you know, we'll have to see, like, how much variance there is going to be in Tier 4 right now, just because there's a lot of heroes currently listed there, so... Things are pretty bloated right now on that front. So with that,
you know what I want to know is, so Captain Hooktusk is tier 1 by itself, average placement of 3.45.
Okay.
What is the highest average placement we've had?
That seems pretty close to what it would be.
It's either this one or was it Tyrion? The one that had the buff no minion types +2/+2 or whatever the crap that was.
Yeah.
Was that Tyrion?
Yeah, Tyrion.
Yeah, that was probably also this high. That was broken as hell. But yeah, 3.45 average placement with Captain Hooktusk with 190,000 games. 190,000 games. And the average is above top 4.
And on that note, too, he is 0.02% higher in first place finishes over Ricky Bobby. Over Flurgle.
Yes, he is.
It's very minor, but it's there.
Oh, Flurgle.
He's been making some moves. Like, it's interesting, like, how, like, the tribe rotation has kind of, like, impacted some of, like, the tribe-specific heroes.
Buffed Murlocs. Murlocs are actually a very good build right now, especially against these Sourless, because at a certain point, like, they counter each other. Like, there's not many cards out there that can deal with a 60-50 Sourlisk.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying like deep into the game. I'm talking when there's still 5, 6 teams left.
Right.
But Murlocs can, because they have that poison. So a 1/2 with poison can take out their heavy hitter. And that's why you're seeing a lot of this being, it's basically Sourlisk and Murlocs are the meta right now. And then the people who hold the dream and try and do the Macaw Beasts.
Right.
Like Rafam is perfect for Macaw Beasts because you always want the Macaw attacking first. So you're going to get a triple Macaw if anyone else is trying to do that thing. So, yeah, Murlocs, though, right now are ridiculously strong. Tad too strong, but I don't know. I still don't like the poison mechanic in game. But it's needed. It is needed. Because how else do you deal with the 70 attacks, 70 health minions?
Right, without having to, like, directly mirror what they're running.
Exactly. So poison's needed. I just wish either A, more people had it, or B, it could be less prevalent, aka don't make it available with Megasaur.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Alright, so let's take a look at what dropped today with patch 17.4.1. So we got some balance updates, both hero-specific and also minion-specific. So let's go over the hero powers that saw an adjustment as of today's patch. So let's start with someone who has not been doing well for quite some time in Lord Jaraxxus. and his Blood Fury ability, which originally had a cost of 2 that gives your demons +1/+1. Now, they lowered the cost of this down to 1 gold. They did not tweak the actual hero power, so your demons will still get +1/+1. But it does basically put you in a situation where, as Jiraxis now, you're essentially being able to hero power on every turn, really, for the most part. So, 2 gold was definitely a heavy investment, even if you factor in, let's say you have like 3 or 4 demons on the board. But, if you're needing to like fish for something, that, extra gold cost definitely takes away from that, where you're having to make a decision of if you are only going to look for the triple or if you're going to buff your board. So you could essentially, spend all of your economy and then not actually be able to see your increased stats across the board here.
Yeah. Well, originally this was 3 gold. And so look at where we've come. The thing is with demons, the one thing they don't need is to make themselves bigger. Like, they are one of the best at making themselves big as frickin' possible without the need of the hero power. So it's like, and I think that's why this hero power has always kind of been like, to everyone. It's like, you have a tier 1 card that if you play a demon gets +2/+2.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then they added another card that gets buffed if you have that tier 1 card and you play a demon. So like, your cards are buffing and buffing and buffing, and like, that is one thing they do not lack.
Yeah, I feel like
is stats.
the 2 exceptions to that, from a demon perspective, would be the Imp Game boss, because the more hits you take, obviously the more demons you're going to spawn, the extra juggle opportunities you get. But again, jugglers definitely get to that point where after so long you're not going to get the value there. The other situation would be with the Imp Mama. So the more stats you have, the more hits you can take, the more taunt minions that you would spawn based on how many hits you get as well.
Yeah. And those 2 instances, like, the Imp Gang boss, like you said, like, the juggler deck build is something that is phenomenal early game,
right,
mid game, and very, very early late game.
Mm-hmm.
After that, it's not good. It's you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like having the cannon there when you're down to final 3. Well, the cannon doing 2 damage to someone is not gonna be like, oh yeah, no, I win. I win because I have a cannon. That when this one character attacks, I do 2 damage. All right, wait, no, you have a 60-40 health minion. My 2 damage is not gonna do shit. So, like, I get it from that point of view. I just think Lord Jiraxis needs a little bit of a rework in regards to what the hero power could be, because like I said, demons do not need that buff because they get it so much, whereas like mechs or even beasts or murlocs need that kind of buff to survive early to mid game. Demons don't, because you can get that buff, you can get those stats out there early game to get you through the early and mid game.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's where the huge difference is, because late game with this, would you rather try and fish for something with that 1 gold, or give 5 minions +1/+1 when they're already 40/40s?
Right.
Like, is 41/41 gonna do it over possibly freezing a minion that can help you out even more the next turn? Probably not. So I don't know. I think it needs a rework, but it's there.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going anywhere. I don't think it's the only demon hero power we got, so it's not going away anytime soon.
So next up, we have a change to Reno Jackson's Gonna Be Rich hero power, which was, 3 cost that you make a friendly minion in golden, but you can only use it once. They changed the cost of this to 2. And this one really confuses me, Ed, because more times than not, I'd say 99% of the time. Actually, I can actually pull up the stats of when he actually uses the hero power. But anyways, I have never had a situation where I was, really early on, and I was like, now would be a good time to use this hero power to get, like, a golden minion. People are typically just saving it for, your Baron or your Bran. Maybe recently the Macaw, I could see. But the cost was not an issue to me, like, at all with this. So this one was just kind of perplexing. But I do want to look up at what turns the hero power was used the most to really get a good idea.
Yeah, when I saw this, I'm like, what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, will HS Replay tell you?
Yes.
So
I'm looking at it right
hero
now.
power, turn 8.
The most, which will be at 10 gold. Right at 10 gold.
Right at 10 gold, but you're probably still at tier 4 at that point. Tier 4 generally, maybe
Or
tier 3.
It would be 5.
At turn 8?
In some cases, yeah.
That's pretty drastic.
Well, I'm just saying, if you look at it, 8 through 10 are like the sweet spots. You're either at 4 or 5.
Okay, yeah. If I'm not saying tier 5, you're at tier 5, turn 8.
Mm-hmm.
But 8 through 10, yes, I'll agree with that. So I don't think that the 3 to 2 gold matters at all. And when you're going to use the hero power, you're going to use the hero power. So I don't think this changes him whatsoever. I could be wrong. I've been wrong a lot, but this doesn't seem like it matters even remotely.
No, and I do feel like Reno's definitely been one of the heroes in particular that kind of has got lost in the shuffle here as of late.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and also, he's just a meme character. Like, that's what he is. He's a meme character. So...
How long before they tweak it where, spend X amount of gold, heal for 30?
Mm-hmm.
Just like the actual card to make it very
focused. I will say this, the reason you're seeing a little bit more Reno Jackson now is because of the Gold Grubber. Like, Gold Grubber is sneaky one of the better cards.
Mm-hmm.
That not letting people. So, like, if you can, like, one of the more popular builds with Reno is basically just kind of staying at a low level and getting to tier 4. Well, get into tier 4 and then golding that and then stay there, trying to get, like, Sourlisk, Macaws, stuff like that, and just building up that freaking Gold Grubber over and over time as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, if you get that Gold Grubber and you have 2 gold, you gold that Gold Grubber right away.
Interesting.
So
outside of that, we also have a change to Maleficent Manastorm and her Tinker ability, which used to basically buff Max and Bob's Tavern with +2 attack. I'm pretty sure this is like a reverted change.
Yes, this is her old. This is her old one.
Yes. So to refresh everyone's memory, now the passive hero power will give Mex in Bob's Tavern a +1 attack and +1 health. So, okay, this is another one. Okay, so basically I'm trying to see like how much value this is actually going to give, because obviously like I don't think attack was really the issue. It's always kind of just been the health with mechs in a lot of cases, because really their only way to gain health was through like magnetics or through like passive battle cries with like a Defender of Argus or something like that, or with certain taunt minions to gain the extra there. But I'm trying to find where Maleficent is. Oh, looks like top of Tavern or tier 3 at this point with an average of 4.54. So not like the worst spot right now, kind of like middle of the pack.
But that's also including the, would that be current patch? So like what came today? No, current patch as of 610.
Yeah, so this would be like the past week.
Yeah, so without it, so like I think we'll get a better idea of what she's like for next week. I like this change because what was the name of that old oppressive ass mech? The 6-2 or whatever on tier 3. Whatever that mech was, that thing sucked.
The Cobalt Guardian?
Cobalt Guardian, that was it. Giving that extra health was detrimental to the game. And that's why they changed it back. Like they changed it to not give it health. And that's fine. And now that that's the Cobalt Guardian isn't there, they went back to giving it health because mechs have been kind of hurting. Now, you can say, sure, mechs have been decent in Divine Shield builds, but that's not pure mechs. That's not a mech build. That's half mechs. You know what I mean? Because you want Bolvar, and you want whatever the frick that dragon's name is.
The Draconid Enforcer.
Yeah. That's not a mech build. That's a Divine Shield build. Which is different. So I think giving mechs a little bit of a boost like that really improves their early game, which allows them to get to late game. Like I had a game today where I was from the new patch where I wasn't Tinker, but I was Sir Finley, and my best hero power was Tinker, so I was essentially Tinker, and I took third. I lost. You're still with this. You're still going to lose to those mega Summerless builds and stuff like that. That's gonna happen regardless. But you can build a pretty good. I think I was like in first place for the first like 5-6 rounds.
Okay.
Because I had buffed mechs who have death rattles early on. So definitely a decent upgrade, but I still think she stays around middle of the pack.
I can see that. Now, the next change in particular I don't know if this is gonna make have the potential to have like the biggest swing, but in terms of like the way that the character plays or just the way that it feels, I think it will play better, but I still don't know if the hero power is worth it, and that is Maiev Shadowson. So the change to Imprison. The dormant minion no longer reduces the number of minions you see whenever you refresh the tavern. Unless, okay, you're at tier number 6, and you have 2 dormant minions in play, then it will reduce it by 1. So, looking back at it before, it would basically lock that minion in the shop, you would refresh, and then you would have 1 less option to be able to purchase from. And then, you would have to wait a couple of turns, you would get the minion for free, you would get the, +1/+1 with the Imprison. And Maiev, in regards to, not the most recent hero editions, but before that, Maiev was constantly near the bottom of the pack. And, there was definitely some time where the community was trying to figure out, how this character was playing and not really knowing if the hero power was that, really worth it. Having to wait 2 turns to essentially only gain an additional attack and an additional health. And we haven't really seen like a huge uptick in regards to the stats that we've been seeing in regards to like the average placement for Shadow Sun either. So I don't know if there's going to be a big swing here or if it's going to be enough to push my Ev to like even more towards the top of tier 4. My Ev's just kind of like stuck near like that bottom part of the totem pole.
Okay. I don't think that this is going to keep Maev at the bottom. I think this will boost Maev a little bit. But it's not someone like me and you that will figure it out. Like, no offense to you and I. We're not the type of people who strategize these things or like build decks that work. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's just not what we do. So I think somebody will try and find something because, like, I mean, we didn't see the Macaw build when it first came out. But you know, it's there now. So I think it's gonna definitely move up to low to mid tier. Like, sorry, low to mid of the middle tier.
Okay.
With this, because it does give you basically how much does this hero power cost? Is it 1 or 2?
One.
1. Okay, so for the price of a reroll, you get to make someone dormant, and then you get a full board the next turn.
Right.
Like, so it's not detrimental at all. It's kind of like freezing to some degree. Like, but select freezing. So I can see it getting bumped up to maybe on the same level as like a Syndragosa or whatever, but I don't know. I'll be interested to see where Maev ends up.
So in regards to hero updates, that's it for that lot. But we got a couple of minion changes, all of which are to beasts. All right, so let's start with the Scavenging Hyena. Scavenging Hyena went from tier 2 down to tier 1. The stats have remained the same, so whenever a friendly beast dies, it gains +2/+1, with the base stats of the Hyena being 2 attack and 2 health. So, this one is really interesting because at 1, this definitely puts Hyena in a place to have a lot of board longevity into the late game. Now, would it technically be any different than a Soralisk in a late game? Because there is also kind of like a point in time where that kind of sees some fall off once, you know, you get to 6 as well. Or would the stats be a little bit... I don't know, like the only differential there, technically, would probably just be effective attack, potentially, just because you do have that extra one, but you know, it's only happening whenever a beast dies, so I don't know if you're going to be seeing like a bigger stats total over what we would have gotten in the past with Soralisk.
Yeah, I don't think that like Hyena is not that good of a card. I know it's like the ultimate trap card, in my opinion, in the game. It's like you want to take it because you're like, oh yeah, no, the beasts are gonna die. I'm gonna get +2/+1, and so on and so forth. But it's gonna die quickly. It just is. And I guess the only time it's really that good is because it's, you know, if it's gold. As far as like a tier 1 minion goes, this is a pretty crappy tier 1 minion. It only beats out the 1/2 mech and Wrathweaver. I think are the only ones it actually beats out. So like that's a pretty bad tier 1 card. So I think this was smart to move it down to tier 1 because it's not that great of a card. You're not seeing the Scavenging Hyena in any type of late game, even late mid game type of scenario.
Yeah, like it kind of like hits that sweet spot if you have like an early hyena rat pack combo. But
Yeah.
outside of that, it's harder to just see the value there. But yes, like base set wise, you're not gonna have like the highest win rate initially. Compared to like some of the other open end like tier one options out there. But the scale potential is going to be there. And also part of the reason for it to get dropped down to tier one is because of the other move that they made from tier one, and that is that the Rabid Saurolisk is now a tier two minion. So they also changed it instead of having 1 health to having 2 health. So you have at tier 2 Saurolisk with 3 attack, 2 health, and then the death rattle is still going to buff it with +1/+1. So no more like forever 1 Saurolisk builds. That's no longer a thing.
No.
But that's not to say that there aren't still a ton of viable options for death riddles at tiers 1 and 2. But it's a lot harder to see the total stat gain into the late game when you go up that extra tier over just staying at 1.
Exactly. Like for Hook Tusk, this really doesn't affect Hook Tusk unless you were lucky enough as Hook Tusk to get a Saurolisk on the first turn. Now it's like, okay, grab whatever on turn 1, upgrade turn 2, and then you're right where you always be, and you could still be at 40 health. You know what I mean? But it definitely does. It is a nerf. Don't get me wrong. Adding 1 health to it, sure, fine, whatever. I don't really care about it. That's not the important part of this card. But turning it to turn 2 allows fewer Sourless in the game than in tier 1, and I think that's where the big nerf is. Just you're not going to see as many golden ones and stuff like that, and that's how they get ungodly high. Is when you get golden ones. So, same goes for the next card. Same reason you're not going to get golden ones to completely screw things over.
Right. The next card, of course, being the Monstrous Macaw, which went from tier 2 to now being tier 3. Stats identical, just a tier change in this case. And then I can't tell you how many games. Granted, I haven't played a ton of games since, the pirate patch, but it seems like anytime someone is making it late into the game with Monstrous Macaw, it's usually with 2 Goldens in their lineup. That's 6 Macaws, just taken from the pool. Any reduction of that, I am all for. I mean, I love the idea of this card, don't get me wrong. But Macaw has been everywhere.
Yes. Now, everyone loves it because when you pull it off, it is super satisfying. Super satisfying. But again, it's not that easy to pull off. Because, you know what? You build this death rattle build or whatever, but then you have to get to the point where you only have 1 death rattle. And that's tricky to get to when you're doing a death rattle build, and then you have to immediately switch over to only having 1 death rattle. So ideally with Goldgrin, obviously, and with a Baron. So I think moving it to tier 3 just is a nerf to it, and I think you're going to see less of it just for that simple fact, which I'm totally fine with. Like, the Macaw was a little bit too rough early on, like tier 2, that it was not, especially combined with what's that stupid ass card? The tier 1 that spawns a 1/1 that rushes immediately. That pirate, oh god, that was brutal in the beginning.
Yeah, and especially if they also had like an arcane cannon too,
Yeah. Like, turn 3, you're just like, oh, you have a Macaw and you have that pirate? Oh, okay. So like you essentially have 4 cards on the board that have stats. So yeah. But this wasn't needed. I'm glad they made these changes so quickly, like within a week.
Yeah, really quick turnaround in that case. So we'll see how much of a hit like beasts overall are going to have, but at the end of the day, it's definitely a bigger impact on Death Rattle builds than anything. Just knowing that 2 of the key cards in this case were hit, and both of them just happen to also be beasts in this case. But yeah, that's pretty much it. You know, there were a couple other bug fixes, not too much to note on that front. You can find that in the patch notes, which we will have linked within our show notes. But in regards to the news, like, that's it. But, like, pretty big news, at least for Battlegrounds, especially within a week, you know? Like, that's actually quite a bit. Really quick turnaround on the patch. We'll see if that's going to be kind of like something that's going to be happening more and more frequently, but, you know, at least we got an event to look forward to next week, and, of course, we'll be talking about it on the podcast next week for sure.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we'll definitely be talking about what actually happened with these cards.
Yeah, and I do want to, like, keep tabs of what strategies were lobby wins, or top 4s even, to kind of like see what the pecking order was in regards to warband compositions.
Yeah, like I want to see what everything is going, because the first day of testing is always a shit show.
Right.
Always. So you're gonna see, like, day 1, we weren't seeing these Macaw builds. We weren't seeing Sourless builds. It took a few days, so I want to see what these changes bring about. Ugh, so excited.
All right, well, it is about that time, Ed. I think we close out the tavern for tonight, unless you have something else, because I know I cut you off there.
Yeah, no. I don't have anything else.
All right, so if you guys want to help us out, please do us a big favor. Head on over to iTunes and write us a review. Let us know how we're doing, and if there is anything you would like to see added to the show. Again, you know, we're an open book. We're always here to chat with you guys. And, you know, if you guys want to contact us, you can do so a number of different ways. So, Ed, please let our listeners know how they can do that.
All right, so you can reach us through email at taverntailspodcast@gmail.com. We are also on Twitter at taverntailshs. We are also streaming live on Twitch at twitch.tv/taverntailshs. We do have a Discord at discord.me/OWLN show. You can follow me personally on Twitter, and that's at @Ednar83. And then I stream live on Twitch at twitch.tv/Ednar. Totem, where can they find you at?
Well, you can tweet at me over on Twitter at TotemlyDrunkCTR. And when I'm on Twitch streaming, that will be at twitch.tv/TotemlyDrunk. So with that being said, guys, best of luck to you in the Battlegrounds. Let us know how much you're feeling these Death Rattle nerfs for your Macaw Beast builds, or even your Sourlisk builds. Enjoy the Brawl event next week. Hopefully, you know, we get a pretty big turnout here, which I'm expecting. I mean, it'll be interesting to see individual numbers for the streamers and then compare that to, like, just the base YouTube. Or even, like, the primary play Hearthstone Twitch versus YouTube as well. Especially when you factor in how many individuals are actually streaming the event, since there are 16 streamers. Who knows what's going to happen, but I'm sure there's going to be plenty of shenanery to come in the week ahead, and we will see you guys back on Thursday next week. Take care, and have a good night.
Peace out, y'all.